All right, let's just jump right in. We're going to talk about something so fundamental, so ever-present that we almost never stop to think about what it actually is. I'm talking about space.
I mean, we think we know what it is, right? It seems pretty simple. It's the background, the stuff between things, the distance from you to this screen, the vastness between stars, the volume of the room you're in. It's just there.
Yeah, we tend to see it as this big, empty box, a totally neutral stage where all the real stuff, planets, people, you name it, gets to play out its drama. It's the nothingness that holds all the somethings.
But what if that's all completely wrong? What if space isn't empty at all? What if it's not passive? What if space isn't even a thing, but something that does something? Yeah, that's the journey we're going on right now. So to get our heads around this, we're actually going to do something kind of counterintuitive. We're not going to start by looking out into the cosmos. Nope. We're going to start by looking in, at the kind of space we can experience inside our own minds, especially in those moments when we get really quiet.
You hear this a lot from people who are deep into meditation. They talk about this state of pure consciousness. And what's fascinating is how they describe it. The words they reach for are all about space. This feeling of being weightless in a huge open field of awareness, of infinite possibilities.
And this inner space, it's just different. It's not like the room you're in. For starters, they say it's unbounded. No walls, no horizon, just endless. And even weirder, it's centerless. There's no little you in the middle looking out. That feeling of I just dissolves, and you become the space itself.
This quote just nails it, doesn't it? That feeling we all have of being a little pilot sitting behind our eyes. Poof, it's gone. Instead, it's like you are the awareness, a 360-degree sphere of knowing, with no center and no edge, just pure potential.
Okay, so if space, both inside us and out there, isn't just some empty void, that raises a huge question. Where does all this stuff come from? How do form and structure emerge out of this formless potential? Well, let's explore that, starting with a really beautiful, mystical idea.
In sacred geometry, the story of creation is, well, it's a geometric one. It starts with a single point of spirit. It becomes aware of itself, and in that awareness, it expands, creating a sphere. Then it moves to the very edge of that sphere and does it again, creating a second one. That overlap, that's called the Vesica Pisces. And it just keeps going, this outward bloom, creating what's called the seed of life, this beautiful pattern of circles seen as feminine or yin energy. Then comes the masculine, the yang, straight lines connecting all the centers. And what you get is this incredible organized structure, Metatron's cube. It's said to hold the blueprints for everything in the universe.
Now that might sound purely mystical, but hang on. There's a scientific theory that has some really interesting echoes of this. It comes from the biologist Rupert Sheldrake, who came up with this idea of morphic fields. Basically, he proposed that there are these invisible, organizing fields that help shape, well, everything. And the key idea here is that these fields have a kind of memory.
He calls it morphic resonance. Think of it like this. The more something happens, the easier it is for it to happen again. It's like the universe forms habits. So the beautiful pattern in a snowflake, or the instinct that tells a spider how to build a web, it's not just in the genes, it's a pattern, a habit, that's been etched into the very fabric of space and time over eons.
And you know what? We do something just like this inside our own heads. We create what you could call conceptual spaces to organize reality. Just think about colors. How do you know that red is closer to orange than it is to green? You didn't have to memorize that. Your mind just has this built-in color space where these qualities are already arranged. Without these kinds of innate mental maps, learning would be impossible. Everything would just be a chaotic jumble.
So we've touched on how space gets its shape, from these mystical patterns and these scientific fields. But what about us? How do we, as people living our lives, actually experience all this? How do we take a vast, neutral expanse and turn it into a world that, means something to us?
And this is where we get a really big shift in thinking. On the one hand, you've got the old-school Newtonian idea. Space is a big, empty container and we're just in it. But then a philosopher named Martin Heidegger came along and said something completely radical. He said space isn't a box we're put inside of. He said our very existence institutes space. It's not about miles or inches. It's about meaning. Your best friend is near to you even if they're on the other side of the planet, right? That's lived space.
Heidegger had a specific word for this, Einräumen. It kind of means to give space or to make room for.
The idea is that just by living, by caring about things and paying attention to them, we open up this clearing where things can show up and matter to us. So we're not just passively sitting in space, we are actively granting it.
So how do we build this meaningful space? What's our template? Well, it's the most obvious thing in the world, our own bodies. Our physical selves, the fact that we have a front and a back, an up and a down, that becomes the blueprint for how we understand everything. We literally project our bodies onto the world. That's why there's a foot of the mountain, a head of the table, a mouth of a river. We even map abstract things this way. When you're happy, you feel up. When you're sad, you feel down. We look forward to the future and back at the past. Our bodies shape our reality.
Okay, let's try and pull all of this together. We've talked about the space inside our minds. We've looked at sacred geometry. We've talked about how we live and dwell. So what's the big takeaway? What is space, really, when you look at it through all these different lenses?
This brings us back to Heidegger for what is probably his most famous, and yeah, let's be real, his most mind-bending idea. He says that spaces. He literally turns it into a verb. What he means is that space isn't a static thing. It's an action. It's the ongoing event of opening up, of making room, of creating possibility.
So forget the idea of us being actors on a boring, static stage. It's more like we're in a dance. We're in this dynamic interplay with space itself. Our lives give space to the world, and the spacing of the world gives us a place to live. It's this beautiful back-and-forth co-creation.
And this completely changes how we should think about emptiness. Empty space isn't a bad thing. It's not a void. It's potential. An empty canvas is where art can happen. An empty moment in your mind is where a new idea can be born. And the space between two people, that's not a barrier. That space is what makes love and connection possible. To love someone is to cross that space. Once you do, it's not empty anymore. It's filled with connection.
So, here it is, the big idea, the thing to really take away from all this. We have to flip our whole understanding upside down. Space isn't the nothing between things. It's the possibility for things. It's the active opening that allows anything and everything to exist in the first place.
So, I want to leave you with this thought. If it's true, if the way we live, the way we pay attention, literally co-creates the space around us, if it brings a world of meaning into being, then the question for you, for all of us, is this. What kind of world are you helping to build? What kind of space are you creating with your life?